Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a topic that is just incredibly resonant. We're looking at the hidden weights of leadership and, more importantly, the strategic solutions you need to actually sustain it. We're going to be exploring a really fascinating address by Apostle Lawrence Means called The Convergence Leader Lane. Whether you're running a massive, sprawling organization or leading a small, tightly knit team, this explainer is going to break down Means' framework on leadership burnout, the absolute necessity of peer support, and the systems every leader ultimately needs to survive. So let's get right to it.
Okay, let's dive into this with an opening paradox that basically sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. Means immediately tackles the elephant in the room for anyone holding a position of authority. He says, leadership is a gift, but if you have been leading for any length of time, you already know it doesn't always feel like one. Right out of the gate, he's acknowledging this massive gap between our idealized, polished concept of leading and the gritty, day-to-day reality in the trenches.
Means deliberately reframes this intense pressure. Look, on one hand, you have the visceral reality of it. It feels like this crushing responsibility, constant pressure, the expectation that you have to be the only one with all the answers, and the reality of carrying a heavy vision completely alone when everyone else is tapped out. But, and this is key, Means argues that this isolation, it isn't a sign of personal weakness. Actually, it's the fundamental nature of the assignment itself. It's the literal DNA of the call to lead.
Moving into Section 1, the burden of leadership, validating the hidden struggle. Means does something really powerful here. He talks directly to the listener, using the word you to create this deep, immediate empathy. He stacks up these incredibly specific pain points. You know the feeling, being misunderstood repeatedly, making the right but insanely hard calls only to watch people walk away, or casting a vision to a room full of completely deaf ears. He points out the heartbreak of building teams that eventually fracture, experiencing betrayal from your closest allies, and facing harsh public criticism for private decisions you can't ever fully explain. But above all that, he hones in on the quiet, sleep-depriving burden of carrying other people's futures squarely on your back.
So the crucial point is this: when a leader keeps pushing through all that exhaustion, all the betrayal and the criticism, it's not because there's some kind of superhuman. Means argues that continuing to lead despite these massive burdens isn't a matter of just being stubborn. It is an assignment. It's this deep internal drive, a mandate placed inside the leader that simply will not let them sit down when there is still ground to be taken.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Moses and Jethro model, a case study in delegation.
Means walks us through this incredible mini-narrative of Moses' massive resume to establish a really important baseline. Look at Phase 1. He leads 2 million people out of Egypt. Phase 2, he stands defiantly before Pharaoh. Phase 3, he literally parts a sea. And Phase 4, he receives the law directly from God. I mean, by every conceivable external measure, this guy is the single greatest leader of his generation. He's the ultimate success story, right?
But then, the narrative shifts abruptly. Despite all of those towering achievements, Moses hits a massive wall of burnout. His father-in-law, Jethro, watches him operate for just one single day and delivers this stark, unprompted warning. What you are doing is not good. You will surely wear out. The task is too heavy for you. You cannot do it alone. It's a powerful reminder that even a generational, world-changing leader needed someone to step in and call out his completely unsustainable pace.
Means uses this to break down his core thesis on what actually makes someone great. Spoiler alert, it is not the ability to stubbornly carry everything by yourself. True greatness requires 3 distinct steps. Step 1, the wisdom to know exactly when to delegate. Step 2, the humility to actually receive correction, just like Moses did from Jethro. And Step 3, the courage to build structured systems and community that can shoulder the weight, systems that will outlast your own limited personal capacity.
Building right off that, we move to Section 3, integrity and skillful hands, the standard of leadership.
Means instantly grounds this section's theme with a foundational text from Psalm 78:72 regarding David. It says, "And David shepherded them with integrity of heart. With skillful hands he led them."
And this brilliantly illustrates Means' dual requirement for leadership. You absolutely must have both. You can't just have a pure heart and be terrible at your actual job. Conversely, you can't be a strategic genius who entirely lacks moral grounding. The standard for this high level of leadership requires perfectly integrating deep spiritual integrity with highly practical strategy. It's character and competence hand in hand.
Now we head into Section 4, inside the leader lane, a community of peers. This is where we get into the practical application. Means objectively maps out who this dedicated space is actually for. It's built for those who are ultimately responsible for other people's outcomes. We're talking organizational leaders, ministry directors, team builders, visionary entrepreneurs, and marketplace executives. Basically, if you wake up every single morning with the heavy reality of other people's futures resting on your shoulders, this is about you. And here is the profound shift in dynamics that Means is advocating for. In this specific peer community, the traditional roles get flipped entirely. It's a space designed so that high-level leaders are not the ones in charge. You are simply a member. You're in an environment where you are actively encouraged to receive rather than constantly giving out. You get to be the iron that's being sharpened instead of always having to expend your own energy to sharpen everyone else.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, Archetypes of Peer Support. Actionable roles.
Let's move to and see how this builds on our earlier case study. The first actionable archetype here is the Jethro. This is the peer who steps in to provide much-needed wisdom and incredibly practical, objective strategy when a fellow leader is just worn out and can't see the forest for the trees anymore. Just like historical Jethro did for Moses, playing this role is all about offering structural solutions to essentially save a leader from themselves.
The second archetype is the Jonathan. Means defines this as the peer who steps in to provide covering and fiercely loyal friendship during times of intense isolation. When a leader feels like they are standing totally alone on a wall that everyone else has seemingly abandoned, the Jonathan is the person who climbs up and stands right next to them.
And the third archetype is the Barnabas. This is the peer who provides vital advocacy and encouragement. What's really crucial here is Means' strict insistence on action. He explicitly states that leaders in this community cannot just passively sit back and observe a peer struggling. They are required to step up and act. You have to engage with depth, challenge them with love, and actively lift each other up.
Means brings this whole address to a wonderfully grounded, hopeful resolution using Joshua 1:9. It's a reminder, and a promise, really, of expansion as a result of faithfulness. He asserts that if you've been faithful with the heavy, difficult assignments given to you, that faithfulness will lead to expansion. You don't have to be afraid, and you don't have to be discouraged, because at the end of the day, you are not actually walking alone.
So, what does this all mean for us? Means makes it abundantly clear that sustainable leadership simply cannot exist in a vacuum. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If true greatness inherently requires delegation and a structured community, who is playing the role of Jethro, Jonathan, or Barnabas in your life right now? And perhaps even more importantly, whose burden are you actively helping to carry?